shared what are the current frameworks that are available in the organization. The most interesting point that we talked about is, if you go to the last piece first, which is measuring effectiveness of development, but your identification at the first point is not correct. However good development plans you have, but end of the day, you will not lead to what you're having. So hence, plug the holes in identification first. And hence, major part of the discussion was focused around how do you identify, because robustness of identification will give you the effectiveness at the end of the day. From an identification perspective, thoughts that came through was, we thought it's good to link the entire process with the performance management piece. So on one side of the axis, you have the performance in place. On the other side of the axis, you have the potential in place. So all of us in our respective organizations follow this 3x3 metrics on performance and potential. But we digressed a bit and we said, let the performance ratings piece be separate. Let assessment on potential be based on individual competencies which respective organizations follow. Two ways of ratifying those things. One could be through an internal feedback process, which could be a line manager-based evaluation feedback, or it could be a 360-degree feedback. You get feedback from your peers, from your subordinates, and from the general, your business managers or whoever it is with your interaction feedback. So you get that one. Secondly, you can build in an element of assessment center also in place, because that gives you an objectivity. You have an internal guy who might, because the line manager's tendency is to give more favorable feedback. So some could be more objective in nature, some could be more subjective in nature. To build in more objectivity, you have an external process as well, which could be an assessment center in place. It could be an in-house, it could be an outplacement as well. You can get it through an organization as well. End of the day, you will plot your entire employees on that box and then focus on the high performance piece. Once you have the high performance piece, you will link it development in 3 phases. Phase 1 of the development, or phase 1 of the development plan of the individual will resonate from the feedback that you've gathered from this assessment centers. So that's piece 1. Point 2, at an organization level, all of us would want to drive certain strategic behaviors or certain strategic themes. So for example, from a banking sector, it could be collaboration. In a sales organization, it could be strategic selling or effectiveness or pitching or so on and so forth. So at an organization level, you'll also have certain strategic priorities. And third, what is the manager contributing here? So 1, at the individual level coming through feedback. 2, the organization level. And 3, the managerial level. So you agree on this development plan for the individual, frame it for a time duration of about 12 to 18 months, what he will do. Ownership of this will lie 1 with the individual, 2 with the manager, and 3rd at a functional level where the business head is also responsible and accountable for his talent. Obviously, HR will be a partner in the entire process. So that's one. Run through this entire piece. At the end of the year, run through the effectiveness of it. Couple of thoughts that we had on the effectiveness piece. Now, you could evaluate the effectiveness of the learning programs that you do. You do a test, retest, you do an on-the-job feedback, you do a performance test and see what's happening. But the crux of leadership or development of talent would be how much of your guys have made it to leadership roles. So a couple of additional parameters that we thought we could look at. One was, if you're drawing your succession plans, how much of representation is of talent on the succession plan? So number of hypos in the succession plan, that's one. Point 2, number of hypos who've made it to leadership levels. So if you are running this process for the last 3 to 4 years, and you see your top player, were they grown within, and have they made that cut? That's one. Third would be succession conversions. Though you have a person on place, but what is the percentage of your succession plans that have really got converted? So when you had somebody leaving, have you replaced him internally and through that chain of hypos? So that's what we thought through. I think a couple of more points came in case you would want to add through.
Just in addition to the last piece, we also said that somewhere when we're talking about development of potential, ultimately there should be a reflection in the performance rating as well. So that would be an additional thing that we could, maybe monitor over a period of time and see the change in the as a productivity. Okay.
From overall organization point of view, when we do the entire talent mapping into that 3x3 grid, in that event, if I have, say, 5% of my population sitting as top talent, and maybe 10% of my population sitting as a bottom talent, That means 75% of my talent is sitting somewhere in the middle. So whatever we are applying or whatever we are doing by way of the development of our talent, has this entire grid moved for the organization, where from 75 or from 5%, 7% to it has become 15% for a year or 18 months down the line. And of course, applying the raised bar every time. I have to continue identifying this bottom 10% perhaps. And then therefore a key piece also would be that what we do with these bottom performers. How do we deal with this? Do we give them a performance improvement plan and then also help them to come to the average performance level, and then further help them maybe from there, maybe 1 or 2% would also come to the top talent bracket. So that would be one more comprehensive way of looking at it.
Share something? No, oh, you will? Okay. So just two things that came to my mind, which I thought I will share on development. Harvard study shows that organizations that have been able to give the perception of being high learning, high developing organizations can actually pay 6% less compensation to people. Okay, now 6% is not a very large number. If you look at it, somebody's earning, let's say 10 lakhs, what great saving do you make on 6%? No. But when you look at the bottom line effect of cumulative 6%, it can be a substantial number. It can be. So that's number one that I wanted to share. The second thing that I wanted to share, that's my personal belief. It is not, I'm not asking anyone to follow it through, but that's my own belief. The GE model of the identifying the 5% and moving those 5% and upgrading yourself, in my mind, doesn't work in a country like India. They have done it, and they've done it very successfully in India. But I'll say that from a different point of view. In India, we already have a serious skill gap, talent shortage, okay? So what if you do is, if you have somebody who you're identifying as your bottom 5%, you have actually gotten the person from the base level to a certain level within your organization, and then you let that person go, and then you hire somebody new, and then you begin again the same cycle with that person. Doesn't work. In my mind, in an Indian setup, not more than 1%, which is your absolute bottom, that you need to move out, which are a complete no-no, is what you should look at. The remaining 4% should be put on performance improvement plans and be turned around, because they turn out to be better resources in the long run, rather than keep churning them again and again, because finding another one is also very cumbersome and expensive for organization. These are the only 2 points that I had that I wanted to make in that. So
I'm good.
Good with that? Okay. Sure, sure. Thank you for adding, Priscilla. I call them the spine of the organization. They truly are the spine of the organization.
I'd like to add on. That's a very interesting perspective, and I'll give you my own experience as a CEO. I find it high pressure to interact with the top 10%. In fact, if you ask me, I don't want them, because they take maximum amount of my time to keep them convinced about it being there, and that pressure, that mind space which they take, I rather spend in the middle one, which is the spine, to develop them. Because they know that they're at the top, and that's where the problem starts.
I would agree with you, but I would still say, my own experience tells me you need, as they say, diversity is what gives you everything. So you need the entire diverse. You need a few of those stars, because the transformation that they take you through, the spine cannot. But you need the spine, because if you don't have that, the mind can't take you to that transformation. Right? So you need each category, each category. I'm sorry to cut short. I know we are having a very interesting debate, but we have 3 other presentations and a full 1-hour session after that. So I'm sorry I have to do this, but I'm going to cut short this conversation. Yeah. So what we will have is now 3 on retention, and they're very interesting. There's a very interesting theme here. I'm very keen to know what that theme is. I couldn't figure out a little. So about the 3, who wants to go next? You would? Come again. That's Vineet, but they called him Krishna because he was the only male against all the women there. So I told them, I said, it goes a full circle. For a very long period of time, we have been the only women and a lot of men, right? So it's full circle.
I think, Shalini, you said it right. I was forced that I have to make a presentation. And we have a generation Y, not with the age, but the multitasking, she has also made the notes for me. So slightly more easy for me to communicate that. Yeah, using a technology. Okay, now the topic which we have taken is more or less similar to the other two topics, which is the attrition. But we have tried to look at from the point of a skill gap, why this attrition is there, and why the skill gap, how the skill gap also plays an important role into it. So typically speaking, attrition comes from two parts. One is the person is not able to adjust to the organization. And secondly, the organization also finds some people not fitting to the performance level they should be coming up with. Skill gap, according to us, the pressure on HR or on the business is to hire more and more people because the demand and supply crunch is there. And the timelines are so strict that at times we keep on hiring people even if we get a 50, 60, 70% fit, without realizing that this 30% misfit can widen over a period of time, and he may or may not, or she may or may not fit to the organization's performance, and they may be asked to leave. Second is about the gap of attrition because of the employee's expectation or aspirations not getting filled up. So there can be no commonality of a purpose. Over a period of time, with the dream which we were just discussing on our table is the dream with which we hire the person, and after that we don't give that much of an importance to the dream of the person, and that's the reason he or she feels cheated and at times decided to part away with the company. Second important thing is that at times we either as an HR wanted to own the whole process of attrition and saying that we are the only people that are going to solve the attrition problem, or we just go to another extreme and say, attrition is not my problem, it's a line manager problem. So either I will solve it or you solve it. And our approach is, or what we wanted to suggest is, it has to be co-owned. See, the business has their own challenges, whilst business is the reason and they work with the people all the time, and that's the reason they wanted to solve the problem. But we as an SME in HR, in human relation capital or energy or whatever we want to say, we can always give a framework, we can always give that holding hand to the line to solve this problem. We have to give a framework, we have to tell the line manager that these are the ways, these are the practices. Perhaps if you adopt, there will be less attrition. Perhaps if you follow these principles, or perhaps you give this kind of an environment to your team, there will be less chances of people leaving you as a manager or leaving the organization. Third critical piece which we feel this attrition can be controlled is that at times when we hire, during the exit, and this ma'am shares a very important thing, that when we were discussing the reasons of attrition, she gave a very good insight about it, that in one particular organization she was heading and there was a lot of attrition happening. She sat during the whole process of this, and all the attrition when it was happening, she took the clues from this, convinced some of the people, those who were leaving, that please stay, let's try to solve by doing something different. And they come up with a variety of things over the period of 2 or 3 months, and then it was communicated to each and every person that how these changes are going to be implemented. It was able to change to large extent, and they are able to curtail the attrition. So the point here is that there's no one particular solution available for controlling the attrition. Attrition is if it is a universal problem, but then there is no universal solution for attrition. There has to be different ways and different means. But particularly if we co-own it with the line, we as an HR people decide to make sure that there is, we also solve the problem by looking at a skill gap, then also probably we are able to solve it at the beginning. Because sometimes we as an HR has to push, saying that we should be knowing it from the beginning, what is the requirement over a period of time. So that we also get a time to plan, and plan to hire it in that systematic manner, so there is not much of a gap. Most of the time it so happened that when we get the requirement from the business, we are in such a tearing hurry to hire that at times as an organization, we get the people those who are not fitting to the performance culture or for the performance parameters in the organization. Anyone wanted to add anything which probably is not covered?
In my organization, the retention is part of the HR KRA. Attrition is part of the business leaders KRA. Attrition is not in the HR KRA at all. So my responsibility as the process owner and people owner becomes in gathering data, in analyzing it and presenting it to the leadership team. And the questions, basis that analysis and data, are to be answered by the business leaders. So I think that's how we have shared the responsibility and so for retention, we have measures in terms of rewards, in terms of recognitions, in terms of what Ophelia here was saying, what we have done for retention. The first step we did was a whole campaign last year on hiring right. So to even while giving brief to consultants, the only thing we kept saying is we don't want good candidates. I don't want very good candidates, best candidate, good company, good profile. I don't want them. We only want the right candidate.
No, I
So we
think
have a
his
profile.
question was,
So
so
what are the
if in your
measures we are taking for
KRA, if
retention?
it says that you will retain talent, so how do you measure at the end? So it
They
has
are
to be fine, it is to
percentage.
reduce attrition.
That's right.
Correct.
No, that's right. But that is more from the
So
point.
either which way, it's the same measure between the,
It is the
it's
same
worded
measure.
differently.
It's the same measure. The task and the steps that we would take
Are different.
Are different.
Okay.
So our measurement is on what are the steps did we take to try and retain,
Okay.
to engage. Yeah? The measurement criteria or performance indicators for the business or the line is on how did you onboard? Did you make sure that they were onboarded, the 1, 7, 13, 60-day onboarding process that we have? That becomes there. The training, the skill development.
Okay.
We have divided the
Understood. Understood.
That's right. Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct.
We've divided the responsibility.
Okay.
It's basically the same. If you can retain, the attrition is low, yes. But what part is directly in their control is being shared by them.
Okay. What I would now request is, considering that I am getting signals from the team there to say we are overshooting our time dramatically, is for the other two presenters to add on to whatever they have not covered. So if they have covered something, then try refraining from that and add on. Who would want to go next? Sure, sure. Why don't you come here? Okay, go ahead. We'll just give you the microphone. Will you introduce yourself, please, first?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kavita Hans. I'm from Disha Human Resources. Actually, luckily, we have also chosen the challenge as attrition, and we have taken it little very simple way, and we have divided this into 3 parts. If attrition is a challenge, the first major problem that HR faces is how to diagnose the problem. Whether the attrition is increasing, if it is increasing, then why? What are the reasons that a person is leaving? So we could find out the 3 main reasons, 3 main ways to find out the problems. First was exit interview system. And the second is, exit interview system, again, we felt that people may not be honest. When they sit and they write, they don't feel like telling the truth. Then ma'am suggested us that they have followed one thing is building trust and connectivity with the employee, which can be like exit interview can be taken exclusively by 1 or 2 senior person within the company, which has been successful with her, and we had accepted this. And second was this continuous feedback from the employees, continuous maintaining the connectivity with each and every employee as far as possible. Like yesterday also we heard that we can very often visit the shop floors, factories, and the various departments to develop that connectivity with a person so that we know what the grievances are before it gets piled up. And third is via employee satisfaction surveys. So is the other group would like to add anything in the diagnosis? Okay. So then we came out that what can be the causes of when we have done the diagnosis. The major causes we found was, first is the career path is not clear. Second was the learning and development. Third is the compensation. Fourth can be the long working hours, unsafe working conditions, organizational culture, freedom of innovations, and then engagement activities and lack of rewards and recognition. So these were the main causes which we jointly tried to find out. And then we said how to curb. We took out the major 3 challenges, major 3 causes which we found was, first is the career path. We felt that the attrition rate is higher because of the career path is not clear. So we thought the solution can be that the setting very clear goals which aligns with the organizational goals. It is very important that when an employee enters, he or she is very much clear what is expected out of him. And the second is the performance preview. We heard, anyway, setting of goals is performance preview. So we can have a performance review which can be done quarterly. And from this performance review, we can identify the high and the low potentials. We can have the very clear-cut performance gaps. We can have the capability gaps, and then accordingly, in the learning and development sector, we can develop that. So the graph of growth is very clear to each and every person that if he or she does that, he is going to be fit into that role, or he is going to get that much of bonus, and this is the development which is possible. And then, do we want to add anything on this in the career path? Okay, then was the learning and development. We said how we can find out the things in this. First was that mentoring and coaching can be one of the solution to it. Second is induction and orientation. A person should be inducted and oriented very well to the various technologies and the various systems, various policies within the organization. Third is technical and non-technical training programs. Whatever has been found out in the career path during the performance reviews, the technical and non-technical training programs can be taken within and from the outside consultants. And third, maybe the job rotation part. Anything else if I've missed out? Okay, so third part which we found as a solution was this compensation. How this is also one of the reasons why a person leaves. So this, they found that we can do benchmarking against the competitors. And it also depends on the internal health of the organization, that how much the management is willing to share with the employees. And then is the performance-based compensation and bonus. This is the major reason a lot of people, they resign because they feel that the other person has got more bonus and I have got less. So they said, whatever the rating they get in the performance review, the bonus and the increment in the salaries will be the same. And during the recruitment process, it is very clearly, we should tell them that same job and same kind of salary. Irrespective of the number of years that you bring into the organization, it is more important what you produce in that quarter or in that year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think primarily that is coming out there is a very strong communication so that people know where they stand, where they are. And another thing that's coming out is transparency. It's so open and transparent that people exactly can identify as to what is happening with their careers, what is happening with their development vis-a-vis others in the organization. So these were the two very strong themes that came out. And now we have the last one.
Yeah, hi, my name is Deepika. I work for a company called Future Capital Holding. And fortunately, I think most of you have covered all the points that I had in here. So just to give you a little summary of the kind of discussion we had here, the challenge that we identified was identification and retention of talent. The first part of the discussion was mainly trying to figure out what do you mean by talent. It's not just about devising, a person should have this many years of experience, should come from backgrounds like this. Because we all function within different environments. Each organization has its own parameters, has its own culture. So person A who did very well in another place may not necessarily be doing the same here. He may be worse off or better. So how do we ensure that the decision that we make in terms of when we are identifying talent is far more informed? So 2-3 steps which were suggested by the team were, firstly, despite whatever way people have, organizations may have progressed, very few people put in a genuine effort at devising a really, really clear job description that goes beyond just listing the years of experience, but in terms of what are the personality traits you're looking at, what is it that you should be saying between the lines. So this job description, once devised, must be shared with the people who are the panelists. The description is not just meant for the HR division or for people, for headhunters you share it with. Guys who sit on the interview panel must be very clear about what they're looking for. I see that a lot, that people themselves don't know what they're looking for. They may go through multiple rounds without knowing what is it exactly they're looking for. So that's one, get a clear job description in place. Also have the business, share that with the business. Also invest in training business along with HR on interviewing and understanding how we are in a job market where talent is very fluid. So it's not just like we are evaluating people. We also need to do a lot of selling and be very transparent in terms of letting them know what they're getting into. So the two people here at my table, Purnima is from HDFC, and he's from a manufacturer. Sorry? Owens Corning. So they put up a very good point, which was at Purnima's place, they spend at least an hour and a half with the person in an interview. It's not a 10-minute job. The person goes through 3 rounds, out of which 2 are with business and 1 with the HR person. They invest a lot of time in talking to the person, maybe rephrasing the same question in a different manner. At the other place, where they actually have a physical plant, say if there are 3 rounds, at the end of the 2nd round, even take the person down to the facility, give him the opportunity to interact with his peers, understand very clearly what is he getting into. So it's a very transparent process which sets expectations right at the initial stage, which eventually translates very well when we link it with retention. So everybody gets into the relationship with their eyes open. So that's one part. And also we use, and we're also doing that, we use a lot of psychometric testing. The HR team and along with the business have been trained on, you could pick Thomas profiling or some of the better known tests, etc. And people have been mapped to certain roles, matching those skills. I'm sure most of us are aware of that. So that was first part about trying to identify the right kind of talent. In terms of retention of talent, because once the person is in and we've invested so much trying to look for this right person, we need to ensure that the person is in the system for a fairly, to get a return on investment is how I would put it. So most of you have already covered stuff like that, but 2-3 key things. I think all of us know that if you're worried about why people are leaving your organization, you should really be paying attention to your exit data. You should be listening really hard, why are people leaving? It's not always about the money. We know the well-known phrase, people quit not jobs, but bad bosses, and that is really a fact. So exit is something that should be the responsibility of business and human resource, and we should really be studying that data in minute detail. Apart from that, if you can provide a person, like we had a presentation on different motivators from people from different generations, whether Gen X or Gen Y. If you can identify those, if you can provide people from Gen Y with the kind of creativity and the flexibility that they need at work, you may have less attrition there. And similarly for Gen X, in terms of if you identify what their motivators are, you may have less attrition there. And also, yes, people get bored of doing the same thing again and again. So if you can introduce job rotation within your organization, if you have that kind of scope, you can make things really good for people instead of having them go outside and look for stuff.
Thanks, Deepika. Just to round up, primarily what we are hearing is that HR needs to do its job right. That's all. That's all that I can say from here. So what is it? Have clarity on job descriptions, hire right, understand your people, put in programs that are effective, which help those people. Have managers teach them, coach them to run all your programs in a manner that is effective, and you will have a happy, healthy workforce that will continue with you and will deliver. That's basically what, isn't it? It's just that. Now the issue comes, I'll just come to you. The issue comes in to say, for each organization, it has to be looked at in its own context, because the terminologies remain identical. It's hiring, attracting, retention, programs are similar, job descriptions, 360-degree feedback, you know, everything, it's identical. It's how that matters. It's how do you identify the unique problem that your organization has, find the unique solutions that can be then put together to bridge those gaps. And for that is when we share. I have found a very, very easy way of doing it. When I have a problem, I know I don't have the solutions. I generally don't have the solution. I actually call a lot of my friends that are HR heads. I call and sit with my business partners to say, okay, this is the issue, I don't have the answer. Let's figure out what can we do best. And that's how we slowly try and find our answers. And then we slowly customize it to what would work for us, and that's how over a period of time we build a better, credible organization where people like to come and work for and continue working for. So that's, you had something you wanted to.
Yeah, I also would like to make a point that we should also, there should be something also like respectful exits, because we have also seen that at times the decision of exits are also impulsive or more on exploratory basis. And yes, if a respectful exit is done, we can also reverse the attrition. I have some.
You know, I have remembered something I will add to this. So I was sitting with Mr. Harsh Goenka on his practices, and he said something which I have never heard before. So he said every individual that comes for an interview to RPG group, correct? It's the RPG group that meets the senior. So they're talking about the senior level there. When they have gone back, after 2 weeks, they receive a personally signed letter from whoever that they had interviewed with a CD of RPG thanking them for their time that they spent for the interview, whether they get hired or whether they don't get hired. It's these little gestures. So it's the same with exits. I know many organizations, including ours, where we have alumni dinners that we hold every year, where people that have exited come back because they want to come back and be there with us. They may not want to work with us anymore, but they still have a good feeling about the organization, and they have become our ambassadors. So that's what you're saying. So it's basically, what is it that we do for people, and how do we do it that keeps them engaged, keeps them motivated, and helps us with retention. And we all have to find our own answers. We can help each other devise and through sharing, but the answers have to be found within ourselves. So
yeah, there are a couple of thoughts I would like to add here.
We actually do need to close, so maybe we can get your thoughts in this next section. I want to thank Shalini and Sumit very much for facilitating this. Wonderful facilitation. Thank you very much. It was very hands-on, very interactive. Really appreciate it. We're actually going to take a really, really fast coffee break, about 5 minutes to go and get coffee and bring it back here. Bring a snack back with you if you would, please. I really want you to come back for this next piece. It's the last piece we're going to do. Don't shortchange yourself by not coming back, because we're going to wrap up everything from yesterday and everything we've done today and really maximize everything that you've learned here and put it into some action steps for you personally. So David Wee, my partner in this next section, and I will help you work through this process. And please come back 5 minutes, okay? Thank you.